Hello everyone. Tonight I will take you into the icy heart of one of the strangest maritime mysteries ever recorded. It is the story of a ship that appeared from nowhere, sailed silently through the waters of the East Indies, and was discovered with every soul aboard lifeless in ways so disturbing that even seasoned sailors were shaken to their core. This is the tale of the SS Ourang Medan, often called the ghost ship of the frozen sea, a vessel whose fate remains cloaked in speculation, fear, and unanswered questions. Imagine the vast expanse of the ocean in the late 1940s, when international communication was far less advanced than today. Ships relied on radio transmissions and Morse code to send urgent signals. Somewhere in the Strait of Malacca, a maritime region already famous for piracy, treacherous waters, and smuggling, a distress call crackled through the radios of nearby ships. The words that followed would etch themselves into history not because they told of fire, mutiny, or sinking, but because of the sheer terror they implied. The first transmission said, "All officers, including captain, dead, lying in chart room and on bridge, possibly whole crew dead." Moments later, a final chilling phrase, "I die." Then there was silence. Nearby vessels that picked up the distress call reported it to authorities. Among them was the Silver Star, an American merchant ship, which quickly set a course to locate the Ourang Medan. When they finally spotted her drifting and eerily still, the ship appeared to be intact. No signs of battle or external damage marred its structure. Yet, when the Silver Star's crew boarded, they were met with a nightmare. Bodies were strewn across the decks, their eyes wide open, mouths frozen in expressions of agony and horror. Even the ship's dog lay dead, its lips curled back in what looked like a snarl directed at something unseen. What terrified the rescuers the most was not only the positions of the corpses, but the conditions of the bodies. Many sailors seemed to be pointing at something invisible, as if struck by an unspeakable horror in their final moments. The air on the ship was said to feel unnaturally cold, almost like stepping into a freezer, even though the tropical sun blazed overhead. As the Silver Star crew began preparing to tow the Ourang Medan back to port, smoke started rising from the hold. Within minutes, a violent explosion ripped through the ghost ship, sending it to the depths of the ocean. The mystery was sealed beneath the waves, leaving only the chilling testimony of those who had boarded her. But what really happened aboard the SS Ourang Medan? For decades, researchers, historians, conspiracy theorists, and paranormal investigators have struggled to untangle fact from legend. Some say the ship never existed at all, calling it a sailor's myth. Others believe it was part of a secret government operation gone terribly wrong. Then there are those who insist something supernatural destroyed the crew. Tonight, we will sift through the fragments of evidence, rumors, and reports to uncover the layers of this maritime enigma. To begin, let us look at the ship itself. The name Ourang Medan loosely translates from Indonesian as man from Medan, Medan being a major port city on the island of Sumatra. Yet no official records of the ship exist in Dutch or British maritime logs from that era. This lack of registration has fueled the argument that the vessel might have been used for secretive, possibly illegal activities. Some suggest it was smuggling dangerous chemicals or even biological weapons left over from World War II. If containers of lethal gas leaked, the crew could have died from poisoning, which might explain their horrific expressions. However, skeptics question why seasoned sailors would send such cryptic distress messages rather than explicitly reporting a chemical leak. If the men were dying from toxic fumes, could they still operate the radio long enough to send such detailed messages? And why did the words carry such a chilling tone, describing death in a way that felt almost supernatural? Another theory points to carbon monoxide poisoning from a malfunction in the boiler room. The ship's heating system, combined with poorly stored coal, could have released lethal gases. This would explain the sudden deaths, but it still leaves the puzzle of the strange body positions, the apparent terror etched into the sailors' faces, and the instantaneous nature of their demise. Some have speculated that the Ourang Medan might have been transporting nitroglycerin or other volatile explosives. A slight disturbance could have killed the crew instantly, leaving no chance for escape. This might also explain the sudden explosion that destroyed the ship after rescuers attempted to tow it. But even this idea fails to explain the why. Dyed stares and stiff arms of the sailors pointing at nothing. Chemical accidents usually do not leave corpses in such bizarre poses, and so the paranormal explanations enter the stage. Some believe the ship encountered an otherworldly presence, perhaps a ghostly apparition or a force from the depths of the sea. Sailors have long spoken of cursed waters, haunted ships, and spectral crews doomed to wander the oceans forever. Could the Ourang Medan have stumbled into one such supernatural trap? Was there an unseen entity that drove the men into madness before snuffing out their lives? Another eerie suggestion ties the incident to UFO activity. In the mid-20th century, the seas became hotspots for alleged extraterrestrial encounters. Witnesses around the world reported strange lights hovering above oceans. Could the crew have witnessed something not of this earth, something so shocking that it literally scared them to death? We must also consider the possibility that this entire story was a cover-up. The Cold War was beginning, and nations were experimenting with advanced weaponry, including chemical and biological agents. If the Ourang Medan was secretly carrying such weapons, governments may have erased all traces to avoid exposure. Destroying the ship conveniently buried the evidence. But if so, who sent the distress signal, and why allow rumors of ghostly horror to spread rather than a simple boiler accident? As you can see, every explanation raises new questions. What is undeniable is the impact the tale has had on maritime lore. Sailors who have heard the story of the Ourang Medan speak of it with unease, as if the ghost ship still drifts beneath the waves, waiting for someone foolish enough to find it again. The tale of the SS Ourang Medan did not end with the explosion that sent her beneath the waves. In fact, that was only the beginning of the mystery. What survived was not the ship itself but the whispers, the fragments of testimony, and the scattered reports in newspapers that kept the story alive. To understand why this ghost ship continues to haunt the imagination of historians, sailors, and mystery seekers, we must retrace the trail of documents and accounts that emerged in the aftermath. One of the earliest references appeared in a Dutch-Indonesian newspaper in 1948. The story described a ship found adrift with its crew dead under strange circumstances before it exploded and sank. Later, in 1949, American publications picked up the story, adding more dramatic details, particularly the haunting distress message. Some versions even altered the name of the rescuing ship, calling it by different names. These inconsistencies have caused researchers to wonder, were journalists embellishing the account, or was there deliberate misinformation being spread? If we look at the historical context, the late 1940s were a turbulent time. World War II had just ended, and the seas were filled with surplus weapons, abandoned military technology, and secret operations that governments preferred to bury rather than explain. The Strait of Malacca itself was a hub of smuggling, both legal and illegal, where shadowy cargoes often moved without documentation. Against this backdrop, the Ourang Medan story begins to make more sense, not as a supernatural ghost tale, but as the possible result of a cover-up involving dangerous contraband. One theory suggests that the ship was carrying a lethal combination of potassium cyanide and nitroglycerin, substances used during the war. If seawater had leaked into the cargo hold, it could have triggered the release of toxic gas, killing the crew swiftly. The gas might also have created the eerie frozen expressions reported on the bodies. When the Silver Star attempted to tow the vessel, heat from the salvage effort may have triggered the nitroglycerin, causing the explosion. This explanation ties together several threads, yet it leaves unanswered the chilling radio message. Could a dying sailor, gasping his final breaths, have truly managed to transmit those words, "I die"? Another angle comes from paranormal investigators. They argue that natural explanations do not fully capture the strange atmosphere of the Ourang Medan. Witnesses described an unnatural chill aboard the ship, a sensation inconsistent with the tropical climate. Paranormal researchers point to this as evidence of something beyond the physical realm. a haunting, a presence, perhaps even the intervention of forces not of this world. Stories of ghost ships are not unique to the Ourang Medan. From the Flying Dutchman to the Mary Celeste, maritime history is filled with tales of vessels doomed to drift without their crews. But unlike those legends, the Ourang Medan comes with a very specific distress call, which adds weight to its reality. Skeptics, however, remain unconvinced. Many argue that the story is nothing more than a sailor's myth, a cautionary tale spun to entertain or frighten. They point out that no official shipping records confirm the existence of a vessel named the Ourang Medan. Without documentation, can we truly claim it ever sailed? If it was real, why has no wreckage ever been located? Could the explosion have destroyed it so completely that nothing remains? Or was the story simply exaggerated into existence? Yet, every time researchers try to dismiss it, the story resurfaces in unexpected places. For instance, some conspiracy theorists connect the incident to secret Japanese experiments during World War II. It is known that Unit 731 in Manchuria experimented with chemical and biological warfare on an unimaginable scale. Could the Ourang Medan have been transporting remnants of those weapons, hidden aboard a ghost vessel meant to vanish without a trace? If so, the deaths of the crew might have been the terrible consequence of carrying something never meant to see daylight again. There are also whispers of UFO involvement. In the 1940s, as the Cold War began, sightings of strange objects in the sky became more frequent. Could the sailors have encountered a phenomenon so shocking, so incomprehensible, that it triggered terror, induced cardiac arrest? The expressions on the bodies, eyes wide, mouths agape, arms frozen as if pointing, feed this theory. The notion that they saw something beyond human understanding remains a powerful, if unprovable, idea. The deeper we go, the more elusive the truth becomes. Perhaps the greatest power of the Ourang Medan mystery is not in finding answers, but in the endless possibilities it presents. It forces us to confront the unknown, to wonder what dangers lurk in the depths of the ocean, and to consider how many secrets the sea still keeps from us. What is certain is that the Ourang Medan has become an enduring legend. Its story is retold in books, documentaries, podcasts, and now on channels like this one. Each retelling adds new details, sometimes factual, sometimes fictional, but always keeping the ghost ship alive in human imagination. The sea, after all, is the perfect stage for mystery. Vast, unforgiving, and silent. So what really happened? Was the Ourang Medan a victim of chemical smuggling gone wrong, destroyed by its own deadly cargo? Was it an elaborate myth that spread through the newspapers of the late 1940s, gaining momentum until it became accepted as fact? Or was it something stranger still, a ship touched by forces we cannot comprehend? The truth may lie at the bottom of the ocean, buried with the wreckage. Until it is found, we are left only with questions, with the haunting final words of a doomed sailor echoing through history, "I die." And perhaps that is fitting. For the greatest mysteries are not those we solve, but those that remain unsolved, drawing us back to wonder, again and again.